Here's what happened. A congressman from Kentucky was challenged, and 95 or 99% of the money came from an Israeli lobby to take him out for merely telling the truth.
And not even attacking Israel.
These super PACs, again, they're not talking. They're distorting my record instead of telling you why they're trying to flush me out of Congress. They want to flush me out of Congress because I don't vote for foreign aid. They've spent about $10 million, their super PACs and their campaign.
Insane. The Republican primary for the House seat in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, it's apparently tightening up, which is concerning because this is kind of a proxy war between the America Firsters and the Israel Firsters. Thomas Massie, the incumbent in this race, has voted consistently against providing foreign aid to many countries, including Israel. Israel doesn't like that, and so their minions here in the United States are working overtime to oust Massie, and they are pouring a lot of money into his primary challenger. So he spoke about that during a recent sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson, and I think he revealed quite a bit about how politics really works here in the US. Before we get to those details, Cenk, how much do you love talking about money in politics?
Oh yeah, so the only thing I love more is that now our right-wing brothers and sisters are also talking about money in politics.
Yes.
So what you're gonna see here after the Massie stuff is I'm gonna show you even more money they spent against Democrats opposed to Israel. So this is bipartisan. They go after anyone who represents America instead of Israel, and they seek to destroy them. And we're gonna show that exactly how it works to you guys right now.
I should also note that aside from consistently voting against providing military aid and foreign aid to Israel, Thomas Massie drew the ire of Zionists here in the United States over his activism in getting the Epstein files released, which I think is, you're telling on yourselves, but okay. Let's move on to just a little bit of context about the race itself before we move on to what Thomas Massie has to say about it. So right now he's facing a challenge by a gentleman by the name of Ed Galrine, who is heavily funded by Miriam Adelson, the same person who bought our president like a prostitute in order to carry out the best interests of Israel. Now, the primary election between Massie and Galrine will take place on May 19th, and look, there is some polling. For instance, there was a poll conducted or released on April 9th by Quantus Insights, and it found that Massie has about 47% support, while his challenger has 38% support. And that was about a month ago. So according to Massie, that lead is tightening up. And in an interview with local media, Galrine said that his social media presence gives voters all they need to know about him, which is why he keeps refusing to debate Thomas Massie.
Oh, come on.
I know. This is what he said. I want to give you his quote. He was speaking to local media and he said, "I'm debating him every day. Please look at the social media and the places I'm being. What I'm talking right to the American people, just like the president does with no middleman. So he's welcome to come on out and defend his record in front of them." This guy is disaster.
So first of all, Israel's not bringing their best. And so they have empty vessels like this because they go, anybody want to sell out America? We're gonna betray America and have you serve Israel like a prostitute. Well, you're not gonna get quality guys. You're gonna get the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
So the bottom of the barrel guy goes, oh, am I going to get to be a congressman? I am so happy about that. What do I need to do? They're like, on your knees. He's like, right away, sir. And so that's why you get these cutouts, these guys that are total losers, and he can't. And so why is he hiding in social media? Now, of course, he doesn't want to go into debate because then he's going to get humiliated, right? Tom Massie's going to say, hey, didn't you take about like $10 million from Israel and serve Israel? And that's going to go viral, and he doesn't want it, right? So if you're a pro-Israel candidate, you want to hide. By the way, that's why most Republicans and Democrats never do interviews, because they're in the witness protection program, because they actually serve Israel. So now the second reason is when he goes on social media, all the Israeli bots come in. And they're like, Ed Galbraith is such a great American. Donald Trump and all the Republicans are in favor of Ed Galbraith.
You're making them sound way smarter than they actually sound.
Tom Massie is an anti-Semite. He is a Jew hater. You should all hate him. He defied Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump is your daddy. We told him Trump is their daddy when we owned that bitch, right?
Totally.
So that's why Ed Galbraith, the coward, is hiding online, surrounded by an army of Israeli bots.
Exactly. Okay, so you have the basics of this race, this primary race. With that in mind, let's get into just how much money has been spent. I mean, we're talking about breaking real records here, especially as it pertains to a primary race. Let's take a look.
What do you think the total your opponent has received both directly and on his behalf to the super PAC is?
I think all in, they've spent about 10 million, their super PACs and their campaign. All in, we've probably spent about 8 million so far. And I would guess all in, by the time this is over, there's going to be $30 million spent in a Republican primary. It's right now the most expensive Republican primary for Congress in the history of Kentucky.
$30 million pumped into a primary race for a House seat. Guys, if you believe we live in a democracy, please wake up. Okay, please wake. We don't live in a democracy. You think you're gonna be able to, you're a normie American. I don't care what your politics are. You wanna run for Congress? You think you're able to do it if you're a working class American? You have to have a freaking army of donors behind you to make that happen.
And so how do you think Galbraith, who's like the biggest sellout in the country in Kentucky in that district, got the 38%? He got there through Fox News and the ads, right? And the ads don't ever talk about Israel because Israel's not popular. So they find some needle in a haystack, which is always a strategy. And they go, oh, look at what Tom Massie did in 1987. He is a terrible person, okay? And people think, oh my God, I guess Tom Massie's a terrible person. I guess I gotta go with Ed Galbraith, right? And then Jake Tapper comes in on CNN and goes, look at what Graham Plattner or Tom Massie has done. They are evil and terrible.
Very
right?
naughty, yeah, totally. In fact, let me give you a perfect example. So Massie and Carlson spoke about an ad that Massie's opponent has been using against him. You're right, doesn't discuss Israel at all. It does rely on AI and it's pretty gross. So I'm gonna skip ahead, guys, to C6. Let's take a look.
I just saw a spot they put up, and you tell me who did this, but it was AI generated video of you with Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez suggesting that you were having sex with both of them, and basically saying you've got the same politics they do.
Yeah, it's a 30-second spot created with AI. There's a disclaimer at the beginning in font that nobody over the age of 65 could possibly see on the TV that says it's AI. And it's not cartoony at all. It looks like a real camera, recordings that shows me walking hand in hand with the two of them, dining with the two of them, and checking into a hotel with the two of them. And uses the word throuple.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. Pretty disgusting. And that's what politics is, right? Look, this Galbraith guy has no substance to him, which is why he's unable to even engage in a debate. And by the way, I say this as someone who doesn't necessarily agree with much of Thomas Massie's political views, right? I agree with him when it comes to foreign aid, foreign policy, things like that. Certainly I agree with him when it comes to Israel. And we might come at it from a different, point of view overall. With him, he's worried about our government spending too much as we are going deeper and deeper into federal debt. And guess what? He happens to be one of 2 or 3 members of Congress who are actually principled. And I respect that because we need principled people to represent their constituents. Now, with that in mind, I want to fast forward to, not fast forward, I want to go to the next video because here you're gonna see Massie, basically he goes into even more detail about these dueling super PACs in this primary race. So I want to go to C3, let's take a look at that.
You got super PACs on each side, and there's a super PAC helping me, not as large as the Israeli super PACs, of which there are 3. But there's a super PAC helping me. Now, as far as hard dollar campaign money from real people, I've raised over $5 million this election cycle, which is probably more than I've raised in the entire time that I've been in Congress.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I usually raise a couple $100,000, maybe $400,000 in election cycle. This time I've raised over 5 million. It's because this situation is dire. Now, the other side, you might say, okay, well, how much money has he raised for his campaign? He's raised about 1 or 1.2 million per quarter for 2 quarters. So he's maybe raised $2.5 million at most.
Yeah, so look, that grassroots are coming to save both Republicans and Democrats when they are attacked at this level from AIPAC. And so that's actually a beautiful thing. That's the American people going, we've had enough of this crap. And if you're gonna do it, with a couple of billionaires giving $1 million, $2 million at a time, well, we're gonna give $5 and $10 at a time, but there's millions of us. And so we're tired of you running our country. And they're absolutely right, guys, because Massie votes with Republicans 91% of the time. So I'm going to disagree with him probably around that number, right? But this race is still the most important race in the country for 2026. Why? Because if they take out Massie, then the message will go out all across Congress in both parties. Resistance is futile. You either work for Israel or you go home. There is no other option. They've bought the entire Congress. And if you dare oppose them, they will 100% eliminate you, right? Because they will 100% try to eliminate you, and that's what they're doing to Massie right now. If they succeed in that, we're all screwed. Not just Republicans, but Democrats too. Because remember, most of the Democrats also take Israeli lobby money. Now they're worried about their own voters that are in rebellion. But the minute they see Massie lose, and I've literally talked to people in Congress about this, and they've said it to me behind the scenes very clearly. If Massie loses, the forces that are trying to keep America sovereign are screwed.
Totally.
Everyone will bow their heads to Israel. It doesn't matter if 98% of the country hates Israel. No, if Israel can continue to buy elections, then all of Congress will work for them and not for us. I want to get to the Democratic side because we haven't gotten to Israel's bottom bitch yet.
Wait, oh, perfect. Okay, then let me play one more video because it actually relates to this. So the Israel lobby knows that the American people who are paying attention are onto them. And so lobby groups like AIPAC, for instance, realize that they have to find squirrely ways to do their bribery without people taking notice. And that's what Massie is gonna talk about in this next video, and he does mention Democrats, so let's take a look.
AIPAC's sort of gone in hiding, and they're trying to secretly funnel money to campaigns. And what we've realized and deduced is that they're funneling money, hard dollars, not the super PAC dollars, but they're funneling money from their donors to his campaign through a payment vendor called Democracy Engine. It was started by one of the people who started Act Blue. It's not a conservative, if you will.
Act Blue, the Democratic bundler?
Yeah. So when you see something come through a payment vendor called Democracy Engine, you particularly $50,000 per quarter. So if somebody's reported $50,000 of expenses to Democracy Engine, and if the payment vendor Democracy Engine has been charging 5%, that means $1 million of money came through that payment vendor. And we've seen that in both of his quarters. So basically, as far as we can tell, about $1 million of his 1.2 million every quarter that you would think may have come from grandmas who are digging deep in their pockets when they get an email from Trump that says, give to this guy. That's not where his money's coming from. It's coming from AIPAC donors.
Amazing. I mean, I think that that's amazing. And that's something that Americans need to look out for, because you think the Israel lobby is gonna give up just because we find them to be unacceptable and they've become unpopular. No, they'll find ways to continue their bribes, but a way to do it more low key and without drawing much attention. Yeah. But like the use of a Democratic platform in order to funnel, money from the Israel lobby to Massie's challenger is an interesting twist to the story. But it isn't that shocking, considering the fact that we have a monopoly in this country when it comes to the pro-Israel stance. We don't have an option. We don't have an anti-Israel party that we can vote for. Both Democrats and Republicans are completely captured.
Yeah, it's not a Democratic website. They're saying the same people set up both sites, right? But either way, they're pretending it's real people, but it's not. Okay, so now let's go to the Democratic side, because if you think that Gal Ryan getting $10 million from the Israeli crowd is a lot, wait till you get a load of Wesley Bell. So as Associated Press reports, Bell's campaign received a big boost, this is graphic number 5, big boost from American Israel Public Affairs Committee, that's AIPAC, whose Super Political Action Committee, United Democracy Project, spent $8.5 million to oust Cori Bush. So did they oust Cori Bush because they were concerned that her policies are too progressive? No, they only cared about Israel, obviously. Well, but if you notice they're not calling it the American Israel Public Affairs Committee anymore. No, it's not AIPAC. It's United Democracy Project, as they're killing democracy, right? They used to have another group called Democratic Majority for Israel. And then I started making fun of it when they spent $4 million against Nina Turner in that race. And I said, where's Democratic Majority for Cleveland? Which is where the race was. So they've realized, change the name to like, we're pro-democracy, pro-kittens, pro-puppies, right? So, but Associated Press undersold how much money they'd given them, because AIPAC Tracker has Wesley Bell's contribution from the Israeli lobby at $13,135,269. So that is a hell of a lot of money, but hold, he is not the bottom bitch. That title goes to our least favorite mutant, George Latimer. So AIPAC spent at least $14.5 million on anti-Bowman ads through its PAC United Democracy Project as of June 20th, according to Federal Election Commission filings. Again, that's Axios in that case. I'm gonna get to the real number in a second, but one more from Axios that is important. They said a senior House Democrat said spending at this volume inevitably has a chilling effect on lawmakers, saying of AIPAC, they do that a lot. What that chilling effect is saying, well, if I say anything slightly critical of Israel, or I don't give them every single dollar that they demand, well, I'm gonna get my ass handed to me. They're gonna spend 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, 10 million against me. So forget that, I work for Israel, okay? And so, as we've told you before, 4 million against Nina Turner, 4 to 6 million, I think, against Representative Marie Newman, and they eliminated her. 4 million against Andy Levin in Michigan, they eliminated him. And now we get to the reigning champion, George Latimer. So AIPAC Tracker has him at $19,155,439 from the Israeli lobby. So now, guys, what frustrates me often, and that's why you'll hear me talking about it, is mainstream media sees that, cable news, New York Times, etc., and goes, no, those are not bribes. No, Latimer is a free and independent guy. The Israelis happen to agree with him, or people who support Israel, just a total coincidence. And they gave him $19 million, and then he votes with Israel every single time and never questions them. That's a coincidence, because Latimer is a wonderful guy, and if you say this particular lobby is controlling him, Latimer's not the bad guy, the lobby's not the bad guy, you're the bad guy.
Disagree.
You're the bad guy for noticing that he took $19 million in bribes from people supporting a foreign government. They literally say that. They literally go, yeah, it's an anti-Semitic trope to say that that lobby is controlling George Latimer, a wonderfully honest and decent person. No, George Latimer is a trained dog, okay? And he's not a real person. He's a cutout, he's a puppet for a different government, and that's what $19 million will do for you. So, and the $19 million doesn't just buy Latimer, it buys you all of Congress when they see you spending $19 million against anyone who opposes Israel. And that's how this game is played, and that's why Tom Massie has to win that. By the way, guys, that is a Republican primary. That is a very, very, very red district. Don't let him trick you into thinking, a Democrat could win that race. Don't help Tom Massie.
No,
what? No, it's a primary.
If you're a Democrat in that district, I hear you, brothers and sisters, you don't really have much of a choice between Democrat or Republican. So if you can, I would personally advise you to vote for the principled Republican in this primary who isn't going to prioritize a foreign country over your best interests.
Yeah, and lastly on that, nothing's stopping you from voting against Tom Massie in the general election. This is a Republican primary. If Galrian wins, he doesn't win that seat. Israel wins the entire Congress. So in that Republican primary, Massie must win. He must win, okay?
Agreed.
Otherwise, we're all screwed and we won't have any sovereignty.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.